morning, it's Denise again. I think this is video 54 since we first started. So if you've not done Pilates before, as I always say, just have a go, but just be careful, particularly if you have any injuries. Right, I'm going to get cracking today, and I've decided that next week is going to be the last video, because after that we're into May, and hopefully it won't be too long after that we're back in the studio. So if you're joining me, come to standing and set up. If you've heard this a million times before, how do you think I feel about how many times I've said it? So let's get started. Legs hip width apart, lovely long body, shoulders down and back, and remember this part, this neck is part of the spine. So if you've got a long spine, you've also got a long neck. The number of people I see standing heads down on phones puts loads of pressure on your neck. So pull up through the crown of your head, but make sure your shoulders are down and back. Okay, neutral spine, we've heard it all before, but some of you might be new. So neutral spine is the little curve in your lower back, which is the strongest position for your spine. Check if you've got it. Thumbs above your navel, fingertips, pubic bone, heels of hands on your hips, and then look down. If your thumbs and fingers are in a line vertically, you already have neutral spine. If they aren't in a line, you've got to do a bit of jiggling around until you get them there. You might find that difficult, it does take time to get, but if it's your first time today, just do your best. Okay, breathing, never stop. If you can breathe in through nose and out through mouth, great, but if you can't, just breathe. Particularly if you're a yoga practitioner, you might find you can't change your breathing pattern. And we're trying to direct the breath here rather than lower down. Last thing before we get cracking is your core. Your core actually covers a huge area, but if you just think, particularly if it's your first time, think about drawing your navel towards your spine. That's a pulling in action. If you've ever done pelvic floor exercises, it's that pulling up. But if you can't do both, just think about this area here, pulling in. And if you can add a pull up, that's great. Right, have you warmed up? I have sort of, but we're going to do some mobility anyway. Okay, let's just do double heel lifts and double arm floats. So when you're doing this, obviously you've got to breathe. And because you're lifting part of your foot off the floor, you are actually challenging your balance. So you might be breathing in as you go up, or you might be breathing out as you go up. Can you take your arms right the way up this time? But make sure, you see, I've allowed my shoulders to go up to my ears, so drop them down. So because you're balancing, you need to think about engaging your core more and fixing your eyes on something that's not moving. Okay, lower your heels, circle your arms around and sit back in a squat. So when you're squatting, just come to standing. When you're squatting, you're taking your weight backwards, not forwards. You don't have to go too low. It's just to get those hips and knees going a bit. Keep breathing. Do your own breathing pattern. Let's just do one more. When you come up to standing this time, give your shoulders a couple of rolls. Make those movements as big as you possibly can. And then drop your shoulders down into the sockets. Take a side bend. So trying to increase the range of motion all the time. Sliding those fingers a little bit further down. You will not be neutral doing this, but you should be breathing and your core should be engaged. Stop when you come back to the centre. Let's take an upper body rotation. Relax your shoulders down. Fingertips together or stack your arms. Hips are staying forward. Add your own breathing pattern. I'm going to take a breath in to get ready, and on my out breath I'm going to rotate. So it's not just your upper body, it's your upper body including your neck and head. And I'm going to breathe in, come back to centre. I'm going to breathe out to the other side and breathe in back to centre. So if you've chosen the stacked arm version, change the top arm, then you don't build up an imbalance. I'm going to do one more each side. Core's engaged, you're breathing, your hips, your lower back haven't moved at all. Come back to centre, drop your arms, Take your shoulders back and down. Let's just work in our hips a bit. If your balance is okay, you can work with foot off the floor. If not, toes on, big toe on the floor and draw an arc along the floor. And obviously if you choose the balance version, you've got to engage your core more and you've got to keep your eyes absolutely still. Just do one more. Then change sides. So this side you might find you're better or worse. So again, you've got that option, big toe down or use your balance. So it's not a huge movement, because we're trying not to disturb the other side. And if you're doing the balancing one, if you disturb the other side too much, you're going to fall over anyway. One more. And then we're going to do a whole body rotation. So you're going to widen your stance, really relax your upper body. Make sure you're not too close to anything. It's a swing and wrap. When you turn to the left, you lift your right heel and vice versa, so you don't twist knee. Come back to centre, set yourself up again. I'm going to do a couple of rolls down. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. Just a reminder, you're in your good stance. First breath in is ready. Second breath in is core, tuck chin, so crown of head is ready to go, and you slide down one vertebra at a time. Whilst you're doing this, you do not lock out your knees, you try not to stick your bottom out, you can let your arms hang or let them slide down. Take a breath in, breathe out, restack. This time I'm going to take myself to the floor. We're going to end up flat on our fronts. So it's up to you whether you go down to your hands and knees or into a high plank, whatever you like to go to the floor. If you want to miss out the roll down, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to do one. If you're not too flexible, bend your knees as much as you need to get your hands to the floor. Walk forward, take your knees to the floor and then lower to the floor, or walk forward into a high plank where your wrists are under your shoulder blades are in your back pockets, and then you can either do a tricep dip or widen your arms and lower in that way, or you can go to your hands and knees. I'm going to roll onto my mat now because it's a bit cold on the floor. Right, we're going to do a rotational exercise on our fronts, but we're also going to emphasise how we move. We always move in a diagonal way. We move right arm, left leg and vice versa, and that's exactly what we're going to do. But we're going to add a rotation. So your starting position is legs can either be together or hip width apart, but they are long, including your feet. So you've got the tops of your feet on the floor. We've got a W shape with our arms. So that's elbows are bent, forearms down. Now your elbows can be opposite your shoulders or a bit further back. You will work it out for yourselves. Shoulder blades down in your back pockets, neck in line with your spine, please. So as you're lying in this position, you shouldn't be up here like this. Neck following line with spine. Okay, I'm going to take a breath in to get ready, and on my out breath I'm going to engage my core. So to do this, imagine you've got either an ice cube or an egg underneath your navel area, and draw away from that ice cube or egg, and you're going to keep drawing away from it. That's going to help you engage your core. So we've got core engaged. So your next in-breath is to get ready. Your next out-breath, keeping both hips down, rotate by lifting that bent arm and looking towards it. And as you breathe in, return to your starting position. It's an out-breath to rotate, keeping hips down, an in-breath to return. So you're not just lifting your arm, you're lifting your arm, rotating the top quarter of your body, and you're looking where that arm is going, keeping your hips absolutely still, but keeping your midsection away from that block of ice or that very fragile leg. Make sure your shoulders aren't sliding up to your ears. Let's make the next one the last one. Keep reaching your feet away from your upper body. Okay, that's option one. If you want to do option two, instead of having bent arms,
have long arms. So you're making sort of a T shape. And to do this, I'm going to rotate on my back arm so you can see what's happening to my front arm. Shoulders down and back. Remember, you're keeping your hips down. Take a breath in. On your out breath, my back arm is going to lift and rotate, and I'm going to slide my front arm towards you. But don't rotate too far, or else your hips will come off the floor. You breathe in and return. So on your out breath, rotate and slide. Breathe in. Keep those shoulders down, away from your ears. So that's option 2. It's the same movement, but there's a bit more flexibility because you've got that sliding action. Let's just do one more each side, any version. I like the long arm version. Shoulders down and back, reaching feet away from upper body. Okay, if you feel at this stage you need to stretch, you push back onto your heels. If you don't do it. Right, we're going to work our bottom half and then we're going to join the two together. So you can either keep your arms where they were, or you can stack your hands, forehead down on the backs of your hands. It's entirely up to you. Shoulders down and back. And all we're doing is alternate leg extensions. It's not a lift. We are not doing this. Okay, you're thinking about pushing your toes away from your hip. There will be a slight lift, but it's not there. So think about extending that leg. So on your out breath, you're going to extend one leg, and on your in breath, you're going to let it retreat back to the start. Here we go. Take a breath in, ready. Don't forget that ice cube. And on your out breath, off we go. Extend and release on your in breath. Other side. Out breath, in breath. When I'm doing this, I feel like I want to move my opposite shoulder, but you're keeping your shoulders back and down, and the underside of your body is providing support for what's happening. Sorry, I'm getting cramp already. So don't forget about drawing that navel away from the ice cube or the egg. Let's just do one more each side. Out breath, in breath, out breath, in breath. Okay, so guess what? We're going to join the two together, but we're not doing the arm and the leg on the same side. So I'll show you a couple with the bent arm. I've got to think about this to make sure I do opposite sides. So you might not be, I can't, yeah, you can see my leg. So take a breath in to get ready. On your out breath, rotate one side of your upper body and lengthen the leg on the opposite side. So let's have a go. There's my out breath. There's my in breath. So don't go back. Don't think about lifting that leg, think about lengthening. So long arm version. Out breath. In breath. Out breath. In breath. So choose the appropriate version for you. Remember to lengthen your leg. Remember to keep your shoulders away from your ears. And let's do 3 on each side. I'm going to go with the long arm version. So when you're ready, take a breath in. On your out breath, check your core is engaged and off you go. In breath, return to the start. Out breath. Remember, you're not going for height with your leg. Change sides. Are you remembering to keep your hips on the floor and keep your navel away from the floor too, away from the ice cube? Okay, take a stretch if you wish. If you want to really stretch your back, keep your knees together. Otherwise, take your knees wider and stretch more into your hips. Your choice. And I've just remembered, I forgot to tell you something. Working on your side, you're going to need a small pillow or cushion. So I'm going to get mine now. I'm sorry, I should have told you at the beginning. It doesn't have to be a big, fluffy, thick bolster. It's just a regular cushion. This is quite a flat one.
So if you haven't got one, you've got 10 seconds to go and find one whilst I have a drink. I tend to, when we're working on our side, neglect the upper body. So we're forgetting the lower body today and we're working the upper body. So this is your working position. Your knees are stacked and you've got a right angle at your hips and a right angle at your knees. So you've got sort of a bit of a Z shape. Side of your head is resting on your cushion or whatever you're using, and the underneath arm is reaching away, and the top arm is stacked on top. And if you suddenly find that your fingers don't match up, you might think you've got one arm shorter than the other. It will be because that shoulder is not stacked. So you've got to have your hips stacked, your shoulders stacked, so your fingers will match up perfectly. Okay, so are you with me? Yep, okay. Right, these do not move. You've got to squeeze your knees together. You've got to keep your hips stationary. We are just using our upper body. We're going to do two, excuse me, two versions. So you're going to take a breath in to get ready. On your out breath, engage your core. Then we're going to do a 4 breath movement. On your first in breath, you float the top arm up to vertical and you watch where it's gone. Remember, that doesn't move. On your out breath, you roll it back, but only take it as far as you can see it. So when you get to this stage, make sure that's not rolled off the bottom one. Breathe in, back to vertical, and breathe out, reach your arm back to the start. That's all it is. Breathing in and out. So we're just trying to improve the range of movements in your shoulder area. That's a breath in, breath out. And the reason why I've chosen to do 4 breaths is so you don't rush. Right, are you still squeezing your knees? Are you keeping your hips still and just moving this upper body neck area? 2 more. Breathing in and out. Are you managing to get a bit further? That's an in breath, that's an out breath. 1 more and I'm going to change the version. See if you can go a bit further this time without disturbing your hip. Right, the next one is it's going to become more circular and you've got to relax your arm a bit. If you try and stretch it, you'll probably find it's too much. Right, this time on your in-breath, you're going to circle the arm over your head. Watch as far as you can. And then breathe out, circle it round the back to the beginning. Now if you try it with a long arm, but I'm sure you'll find it too stressful. So make it a bit more relaxed. So that's a 2 breath, or you can take as many breaths as you like, but you don't disturb that. So breath in, breath out. My shoulders are really tight at the moment, so I can certainly feel it when I get to that position. Now if you've tried the circular one and you don't like it, go back to the first one. Squeeze those knees together. Keep that hip stacked. Let's do 3 more, any version. I'm going to stick with the circular one. Knees squeezing together. Remember, you're trying to increase the range of how far you can move. Last one coming up. And then I'm going to change sides. So I've been using my right arm. I don't know which arm you've been using, but if you feel you need to stretch it, you can bring your right arm across your chest, bring your left arm underneath and draw that arm in. That's going to stretch out your shoulder. But make sure your shoulder stays down. Okay, Then we're moving on to the other side. So exactly the same. Side of head on your cushion. Right angle at your hips and your knees. Bottom arm reaching forwards. Top arm stacked exactly. So your shoulders are stacked, your hips are stacked. Take a breath in to get ready. Here we go. Breathe out, engage your core, then breathe in, float on up. Breathe out. Breathe in back to centre. And breathe out. You might find that this side is looser already. It might be tighter. It depends whether you're left or right-handed, I would assume. So how are you doing with that top hip? Is it still stacked directly above the bottom one? See if you can just get a bit further this time without disturbing that hip. One more. That's a breath in and a breath out. Breath in, breath out. Adding the circular bit, I think I can do it. Oh no, I just have to move. Have to move, or else I'm going to whack my fingers on my furniture. Here we go. So it's a breath in. Oh gosh, that's much harder on this side. And a breath out. I wish you could have heard the crackling noise along my spine when I did that first one. Oh, and again, it's I wish you could hear, it's almost as if my vertebrae are moving, and they're not, they're moving in and out of position and they're making a b-b-b-b noise. Breathing in and breathing out. And again, they've done it. So remember, if you're doing this one, make it a more relaxed arm. If you can, oh Craig, the noise is incredible. So if you can do it with a long arm, fine. But if you've got to relax your arm, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm laughing because of the noise my spine's making is ridiculous. Right, let's do 3 more, either version or a mixture of the 2 versions. I'm going to keep with the circular one. But don't forget, squeeze your knees together. Keep that top hip on top of the bottom hip. One more. I wonder if I'm going to be able to move after this, after all the noise my spine's making. Okay, if you want to stretch out, I've been working my left arm, so if you want to stretch out the working arm, you might want to take it across your body, hook the non-working arm underneath, drop the shoulder down, and there's your shoulder stretch. Right, we're going to work on our back now, and we are going to stretch out our hamstrings because we are going to be doing some bridges, and that really works the hamstrings, so we need to take a stretch. So come onto your back, get rid of your pillow or your cushion. Long neck, slide the back of your head along the mat, shoulders away from ears. Take one leg up, pull behind thigh or calf, trying to get this leg as long as possible. If you've got a bend, don't worry, but just keep drawing in. Other leg can be bent or long. Shoulders down on the floor and relax. If you want, you can flex your foot, you can point your foot, you can move between the two, you can turn your foot out and your hip out, or you can turn your foot and your hip in. Okay, your choice. And breathe and relax. So your hamstrings, as you already know, are between knee and right up into your hip. Every time you breathe out, try and come in a bit further, and if you want to take upper body towards lower body, please do. But keep your shoulders down and back. And when you're ready, but no rush, change sides. So again, working leg in the air as long as you can get it. Non-working leg, bent or long, and draw on in. try just turning your leg slightly out and then turning it slightly in and holding for a while. It just changes the stretch ever so slightly. And again, you've got the option of upper and lower body towards each other, or not. When you feel sufficiently stretched, but keep going because I'm going to talk for a few seconds, we're going to work on our backs now. And working on your back, if you've got your feet off the floor, if you can't retain that neutral spine because you're not strong enough, allow your spine to imprint. And all that means is you allow your lower back to go closer to the floor. You don't ram it right into the floor, but just get it closer to the floor. Okay, so set up position, shoulders away from ears, long neck, we've discussed that already. Feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Imagine you've got a tennis ball between your knees. Find neutral spine. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, take your lower back into the mat. So you're not lifting your buttocks. Breathe in, take your lower back away from the mat. So those are your two extremes. And then stop somewhere in the middle. Bit of guesswork, but that's the only way we can do it. You should be able to get the flattest bit of the flat hand underneath that area. Okay, just a word about ribs. I mentioned it last week. We always try and keep a connection between ribs and hips. And I don't know whether I can show you this. If we have shoulders on the mat, but if you really press them hard into the mat, just watch what happens at the rib cage here. Can you see it's come on up? You can, I'll go back to here, you can have your shoulders down but relaxed so your rib cage didn't move. Watch again, I'm pushing my shoulders down but the rib cage hasn't moved. So you're trying to keep ribs and hips as close together as you can. Okay, right, let's warm up our six pack and let's get cracking. Are you going to work here or are you going to work in tabletop? When you're in tabletop, you can have your legs hip width apart for this bit or together. Right, take a breath in. As you breathe out, engage your core back and take your ribs closer to your hips to initiate that upward movement. Breathe in and lower. Breathe out. Ribs sliding towards hips. Breathe in. Legs absolutely still. When you come up, you're on the tips of your shoulder blades and you're looking down towards your navel. That should take the pressure off your neck. Last one like this. Breathe in. Right, I'd like us to do 2 or 3 with the head support because we're going to use that for our first exercise. So make a basket with your hands. I do it. Sometimes I interlink my fingers, sometimes I don't. But I have my thumbs down the back of my neck, elbows wide, not rammed onto the floor, but in my peripheral vision all the time. Breathe out. And again, you're not initiating your movement with a pull from your head. You're initiating it by sliding bottom rib towards your hips. Breathing out. Breathing in. One more. Okay, take a stretch, full stretch, or you might want to bring your knees into chest more and rock side to side. Right, we're going to do an exercise called double leg lower. And we're going to start off with the easier version and then move it on. So it's easier for this, you get more of a core connection if you have your legs together. Okay, from here, and again, don't forget, if you can't retain neutral spine, allow your lower back to go to the floor. I'm in a good setup position. I'm going to take my breath in. On my out breath, I'm going to engage my core and lower both legs, not too far. Okay? Actually, want to change the breathing. It's breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. You only go as low as you can go. You don't have to take your feet right to the floor because what happens is you tend to start arching your back and you lose your core connection. So it's a small movement. Let's just do one more. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay, you can stick with that or you can work along the legs. So I'm just going to lengthen them slightly. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. The tougher it gets, the more forcefully you've got to do an out breath. If you're finding that's okay, you can gradually lengthen, 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 lengthen until you've got a long, excuse me, until you've got long legs. Breathing in, breathing out. One more. Right, so you've got lots of options. Keep your legs bent, lengthen them a bit, lengthen them a bit more, or go to full stretch. It's your choice. So you can keep with that, or if you want to work a bit harder, but again you don't have to, you can do this with your upper body off the floor. So that's why we've practiced our head support. Okay. So you might want to try it, you might not. So, elbows in your peripheral vision, not rammed down to the floor. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, roll on up. Okay. If you've got there, you're thinking there's absolutely no chance I can do this, just take your upper body down to the floor and arms back to your sides. So, with a bent leg, it would be breathing in, breathing out. If you do work with your head and shoulders off the floor, you can see what's happening here to see if you've let go of your core. Breathing in, breathing out. If you want to go, breathe in and out. And you might want to go the whole hog. Breathe in and out. Can you do up to 5 more? When I say up to, that means 5 is the maximum. Don't forget you can take your head and shoulders back to the floor. And if you're struggling to do any of your versions, retaining neutral spine, imprint your spine. This is number 3. How are we doing? Last one. Are you still looking at your navel if you've got your head off the floor? Right. If you've been working with your head and shoulders off the floor, upper body lowers first, then your lower body. You might want to give your back a massage. Okay, we're going to do several versions of a shoulder bridge now. So we're going to work our spine. The shoulder bridge does work your hamstrings a lot, so if you need to stop and stretch anytime, please do. So come back to your set-up position. In neutral. Feet hip width apart. If you've got tight hips this morning, take your feet wider. Okay. Make sure, remember what I said about your shoulders. Don't ram them into the floor so your ribs flare up. Make sure those ribs are down. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, engage your core. Take your lower back out of neutral. Take your lower back into the mat. And then lift your spine, bone by bone. So how do we keep the legs from wobbling? You've got to squeeze your buttocks and you've got to press your feet firmly into the floor. Take a breath in there, breathe out and lower. One more. Adding at the top, but you don't have to. Just going to move my feet. Right, just heel lifts. So that's really going to get your calves working. But as you're doing this, as you lift that heel, make sure you've not tilted your hips. You're keeping your hips level. You might want to try doubles. Okay, choice. Take your heels down, lower your bridge, or lower your bridge. And when you're back in neutral, lower your heels. Right, you've got 2 options so far. A straight bridge, bridge with heel lifts, adding on if you wish.
do a bent leg lift. So you're bringing one leg to tabletop. And again, you've got to keep your hips level. If you want to have a try at this, but you're struggling, you can always support yourself here. That's a breath in and a breath out. Breath in, breath out. One more each side. So you're either just going up and down with your shoulder bridges, you're doing your heel lifts, or you're doing your leg lifts. Take a breath in, breathe out. One more option. Are you ready? Take a breath in. As you breathe out, up you go. Keep on with your heel lifts or your leg lifts, or this time, breathe in. Breathe out. I've changed the breathing, doesn't matter actually. Just breathe out on the difficult bit for you. If they're both difficult, take an out breath there, take an in breath there, and out breath as you touch down. If you want to go the whole hog, just lift the long leg and take it down. Again, concentrate on your hips. Okay, so lots of versions going on. Make that one the last one. Take a breath in, breathe out, roll on down. Knees into chest, stretch, take a breath in. As you breathe out, rock on up to sitting. Okay, want to do a rotation exercise here. It's called bow and arrow. You'll see why in a minute. You've got to try and keep your legs together all the time. So your starting position is there, sitting tall, knees squeezing together. But I can guarantee once you start moving, your knees will fall apart. Right, so I'm sitting up tall. My shoulders are down and back, my arms are reaching forward. So are you ready to go? Take a breath in to get ready. On your out breath, engage your core and bring hand to shoulder and watch. Breathe in, the other arm isn't moving. Breathe out, it's a long, slow reach forward. Knees squeezing. Breathing out, hand to shoulder, watch it all the time. Breathe in, lengthen. Breathe out. So it's a breath out, hand to shoulder. Breathe into length, squeeze those knees, shoulders down, breathe out. One more each side. Take a breath in, breathe out. Make sure you're sitting as tall as possible. Last one coming out. Breath out and in. Breath out. Okay, you might want to lengthen your legs and give them a shake and roll your shoulders. What we could do is add something similar to a roll back. We do a roll back virtually every session. So just let me remind you, to roll back, you need to C-shape your spine. And a good way of doing that is either imagine somebody's behind you pulling your hips backwards, or simply think about taking ribs to hips like that. And as you do that, your C-shape starts. So you can do this with long legs or bent legs. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, C-shape and roll back a bit. Breathe in and breathe out. And only when you come back to sitting up tall do you allow your ribs to escape from your hips. So going back, you're trying to keep that connection as much as you can and as much as you can until you come up to vertical. Right, are we ready? Take a breath in, breathe out. Breath in and hold, breath out, keep that connection and come up. Okay, so again, as I said, you can do this with long legs. It's entirely up to you. Could we add a bow and arrow maybe? Right, let's try. So this time, we're going to breathe out the same and roll back. And on your in-breath, you hold. Okay, then on your out-breath, we're not going for an arm lengthening. Out-breath to rotate, in-breath to come back. And again, out-breath to rotate, in-breath to come back. Out-breath to rotate, in-breath to come back. Can you do one more?
Keep those shoulders now. Take a breath in and roll on up. Relax your shoulders. If you want to take a side bend because you've been rotating, please do. Right, hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Shoulder blades back pockets. Chin tucked in, pressing away from the floor. Find neutral spine. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, arch your back. As you breathe in, take your midsection away. Same movements again. Now come to somewhere in the middle. It's an approximation. Nothing definite. Okay, take a breath in. Out breath, core, toes, hips, weight backwards. Have a really good stretch. See how close you can get your heels to the floor. Right, we need to get to standing. So as usual, we've got the choice of walking hands to feet or feet to hands, or I like to jump my feet in. So if you want to do that, you lift your heels, you bend your knees, you look forward and you jump up. And then you take a breath in, breathe out, restack. Okay. Right, shall we do a balance or not? Yeah, let's do a balance. So let's do, I quite like this balance, it's a good stretch as well. So weight on one foot, bend your knee, take the lower leg of the other across your thigh, push your hips back, reach your arms forward. If you don't want to reach your arms forward, just rest them there and try and open that hip a wee bit more. And then let's change sides. Supporting leg bent, core engaged. If you've got your hips well back and arms forward, they'll counterbalance each other, allegedly. That's the theory anyway. Okay, come to standing, check you've got a good posture. Roll your shoulders a few times because we worked shoulders quite a lot today. And that's it for today. So next week, final video, and hope we never have to do them again. Thank you very much for joining me if you did. Bye.